I appreciate that because I've always been held to a very high standard. I want to make sure that it's done well. And so, I mean, even though it's really frustrating in the time, I'm trying my hardest, just appreciate this. Now that I'm doing things on my own, that standard and that voice of you give your best at all times is how I approach everything. And so I appreciate it as I get older, I guess.
Dream is absolutely free. The hustle is so separate.
That hunger to be more, to do more, to give more.
You've got to go put in the work.
Success takes time.
What do I want to do every day for the rest of my life? Do that.
Brought to you by Mati Energy, it's The Healthy Hustle, a show where we interview today's movers and shakers, influencers, and entrepreneurs. Get an inside look into their stories and how they hustled to get to where they are today.
Hustle is waking up one day, the day before you die, and realizing you gave it your all, emotionally and executionally, in theory and strategy and in execution.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of The Healthy Hustle. Today, we are here with Joan Yobani, a Durham resident, a healthy hustler to the core, and a founder of a platform called Treme, which is bringing change to her home country of Ghana. Joan, we are super stoked to have you in the house today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm really excited to be here.
This is great. It's always cool to connect with people that are in the local community, but also affecting the change abroad. So I'm super excited for this conversation.
Yeah.
Been looking forward to this since Monday. But really, what's so unique about you is really your foundation, where you came from. Mm-hmm. And I would love for you to start walking us through, I think it was 14 years old, where you really started having some fun challenges coming your way.
Yeah.
And I think that really is going to give this conversation a cool place to start.
Okay.
So run us through what's really going on with 14-year-old Joan.
So 14-year-old Joan, my parents had just left the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
My dad was here getting his PhD, and unbeknownst to him, whenever they left, it automatically made me an undocumented immigrant. So I found out when I went to get my driver's permit, and the lady at the DMV was like, I should be calling Homeland Security, but you should probably leave. She's like, you'll just never be able to get a license or anything here. So this is post 9/11, so pretty serious time for immigrants, and so. 14-year-old Joan was just trying to figure out how to survive. Got a job at Chick-fil-A.
Making it come together.
Listen, I'm already left, so I can say that they gave me a job, even though technically I wasn't supposed to be working.
And something that you really kind of educated me on when we first were talking was about how your parents leaving you was kind of an unexpected, but yet okay.
Yeah.
And for someone from my background, that's a totally new perspective.
Yeah.
So them bringing you to the United States from Ghana and then leaving you was kind of what we did, what we had to do.
Exactly. So when my mom and my dad were younger, they were still taking slaves from Ghana. So my mom had a tattoo on her arm with her name and address, just in case her body got found during those times.
Wow.
It was just a really tumultuous time. So for our parents' generation or the generation before me, their biggest goal was to get their kids out. And if they succeeded in doing that and gave them a better future or something, then they had succeeded. And so they felt like me being here was just the best bet. And not even though they didn't know that it was gonna make me illegal, at that time they're like, even if you're illegal, you're better off there than you are in Ghana.
Seriously, because the situation back home is just unsafe.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, and now, like you said, you're trying to survive. You're trying to put these pieces together to really kind of get you through life day to day, right? You got the job at Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
And you're living with someone, was it from your church, you said?
Yeah, so someone from my church had a small guest house in the back.
Yeah.
And that's a story in itself. His mom used to live back there, so my mom used to take care of his mom when my mom was here. So he was just you guys can stay here. So, so they let us stay there. I was in school. I was running track. And I was working, basically. My sister was here with me, too. So she was 21. I was 14. So I don't know if you can remember your 21-year-old self, but I cannot picture taking care of a 14-year-old.
Oh, my gosh, yeah. I mean,
That's not
2 years
happening.
ago for me taking care of someone?
No, not at all.
No way.
So it was a journey. But we learned a lot about ourselves, learned to be independent, because we weren't financially supported by our parents.
No.
If anything, we financially helped support them sometimes.
Wow.
So the work at Chick-fil-A, whatever odd jobs you could get, or just saving your money and trying to survive out here and have a little bit of a social life as a high schooler. It's insane.
The social life goes in the back burner almost.
Most definitely. A lot of things go in the back burner. It's just plan A. That's it.
I really want to dive into your psyche at this point, because you are so young with a lot of responsibility, supporting your parents in some cases.
Yeah.
Day to day, are you holy moly, what's going on? Or is this just the grind for you?
It's just it seemed normal. I mean, I recognize that nobody else lived that life.
It's a new normal. Like, that's incredible.
And you can't look at somebody and be like, okay, I'm gonna see what they've done, and then I'm gonna try to figure out how to adjust in my own life. You're just doing it as the day comes. You taking it day by day, and you can't think about it too much. I think the only thing that really came to mind was just missing my family, but other than that, it didn't seem abnormal to me. Like, I didn't realize it was abnormal until I started telling people my story, and they'd all just be like, what are you talking about? So yeah, it seemed cool. I don't know. I mean, I appreciated the gift my parents gave me of being able to be here. So yeah.
Yeah. Is that how you thought about it
as
at
a
that
gift?
age? Yeah, as a gift.
Yeah. I mean, before we came to the U.S., we were in the Czech Republic, and then I mean, of course, before that, we were in Ghana, and so my life had been spent most out of Ghana, and so even though I'd always been tapped into my culture and like my language, my food, everything, this was where I was used to, and so I didn't feel like I was missing out on anything by not being at home. But I recognized that was my home.
Yeah. What an incredible perspective to have at that age.
At small age, right?
Yeah. It definitely teed you up for where you're at now, hustling to make it happen. But, and then you had this next big challenge in, most people's lives is going to college, right?
Exactly.
And you didn't really have a lot of the financial support or any of those things coming into that phase.
Yeah.
But you made it happen.
Yeah. I mean, so I ran track. I got offered a couple of track scholarships, but the thing was I didn't feel comfortable taking them because of where my status was, I would have had to go back to Ghana and just reapply and then fly back to the U.S. And it seems very simple, but one of my best friends, her sister got a scholarship, went back to their home country, and the U.S. refused to let her back in, even though she had like a full ride, all her sponsors and everything. And so knowing that story, I was just kind of like, I'm not going to put myself at risk.
Gun shy to go do that.
Yeah, so I got accepted into a school in Charlotte, and UNC Charlotte, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go, and I'm gonna pay for it out of pocket, and we're gonna figure this thing out. And it came to the point where I couldn't be on campus, and so like had to still like figure out a way to pay for it and just be remote. Like it was just like a long situation.
What were you doing to support yourself through college? Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
Shout out Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A
they need to sponsor you.
My friends used to tell me that I used to be the Chick-fil-A's #1 like marketing campaign, just for the food too, but in general, because they changed my life. Like I don't think I could thank that company enough or the owner of that Chick-fil-A enough for the opportunity to survive.
Seriously, wow, holy moly. Crazy to see how that was such a huge part of getting to where you are today. So in school, where are your interests at? Are you focused on getting subject matter expertise? Are you focused on getting the degree? Where's your head at?
So at that point, it's like you have to get the degree. And whenever you don't have parents that are from here or people who've operated in the system before, you have no idea what to do. So even like applying for college was a foreign concept.
Oh my gosh.
And it was like my college counselors in high school try to help, but they're dealing with 400 other students.
And you're undocumented.
Exactly. So when they're like, oh, just apply for financial aid and go through FAFSA. So at one point, I almost got kicked out of Wake County schools because it came to their attention that my parents weren't here. And so that's not something that you're supposed to do, so I had to get emancipated. So for me to tell them like I'm undocumented was something, it was like back to back. I didn't feel comfortable telling them that. So I just be like, I can't apply for FAFSA. My parents aren't here. And they'd be like, oh no, it's fine. There's a way that you can apply without your parents. And so I just had to keep making excuse after excuse just to protect my status because I didn't want them to know that I was undocumented.
You already kind of been burned by that once. And you're
I'm not doing this again.
Yeah, don't blame you. I mean,
yeah, so it got difficult. So even in college, like not knowing how to maneuver, nobody's telling me, okay, at this time you need to get internships. At this time you need to connect with these groups. At this time this is what you need to do. It was just kind of like go to class, get straight A's because my dad is gonna call and wonder why I just got a 93 instead of a 99, and so
there was a lot of pressure from them though for you to succeed.
Since I was like young, I've always been very, very young. My parents tested me for my IQ. They were like, she doesn't belong in certain classes. Put her in these classes. Like,
oh wow.
So I've always been on a certain track, and so
interesting.
It's just that pressure of like you're gonna succeed.
Do you know why they were so into that aspect of you, like the education? Is it?
it's not just Africans, it's foreign parents, period. Like if they bring you somewhere and you're not making straight A's or doing super well, you're not going to be doing anything else. Like my mom and this other lady that we used to live in the seminary with had a competition with their kids. Like, oh yeah, my daughter made a 99. And she was like, well, mine made 100. It's like, it's just this thing of like,
jab.
Yeah, it's like foreign parents. So I used to call my dad. He's like, how are you doing? I'm like, I have all A's. He's like, what's the grade number?
Wow.
And it was like on the
Holy.
scale. So if it's like below 95, he's like, isn't that like a lower A? I'm like, yeah, but it's an A. It's like on the top of my class. I was like, why are you mad?
Come on.
Yeah,
man.
so I appreciate that because I've always been held to a very high standard. And so that forces me to hold myself to a high standard. And whatever I put out, I want to make sure that it's done well. And so, I mean, even though it's really frustrating in the time, you're like, I'm trying my hardest, like just appreciate this. Now that I'm doing things on my own, that standard and that voice of like, you give your best at all times is how I approach everything. And so I appreciate it as I get older, I guess.
Yeah, looking back. You know.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks
That was great.
so much for the pressure.
Yeah. And you hit on something really interesting that I guess we hadn't talked through before. Is like you weren't really being told how to go through the college environment to get that experience after you graduated from college.
Yeah.
So graduating for you, there wasn't like a job opportunity waiting on you.
No.
You went to a new place, right?
Yeah. So after I started working at like a day spa, and at this point, DACA had been passed, and so I became a DACA recipient. And so just kind of like floating through, just trying to figure out what's next.
Yeah.
I knew that I wanted to work in political science and international relations, so I thought maybe I'll do the Foreign Service, or I'll do the Peace Corps. Then I found out you can't do the Peace Corps unless you're a U.S. citizen. So I was like, okay, well, never mind. And so just trying to figure out what I wanted to do. So then I was actively trying to move to New York because I was like, okay, I mean, if anything, there's a huge community there of immigrants. There's a lot of opportunity. I can do something. And then I went on this random studio tour with my friends for the free food. And I ran into my current boss and at that time, the director of growth. And just like sitting in the kitchen with them, like talking, like laughing, them getting to know me getting to know them. At the end of it was kind of like, do you want to come work for us?
Yeah.
And so I had never considered tech. I know nothing about tech. I was like, sure, why not? Let's do this thing. So a month later, I started working at Smashing Boxes, and I've been there for
Durham company, super cool, yeah.
Been there for almost 4 years. And I've learned a ton. And so I really appreciate it. I feel like everything aligned for me to be in this space because just realizing what tech can do to impact the world and especially impact my country. I was, even though let's say I was interested in politics, tech can impact policy. And so I think this was like the best opportunity that I've ever received.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
There's a really good learning moment in there too for everyone tuning in. It's like you really weren't expecting an opportunity to come out of that.
Yeah.
You still win though. Like there's something to be said for showing up, right? And like there's so many quotes from like famous coaches, like you got to show up, you got to be there, and you were there. You were who you were, and like your spirit, the person that you had got to that point, put you in that opportunity to then get that job, which has been a incredible connection that you've used to help get into the Durham community. Yeah, great platform for what you're kind of doing now with Treme. I mean, it's incredible. Yeah. So I love hearing that storyline came to this moment of unexpected like glory, right? Yeah. Almost, it's super cool.
It was the catalyst, definitely.
Yeah, and that was Margaret McNabb, right?
Yeah, it was.
This podcast would be coming out after the one with her. So
it'll be cool. Shout out to Margaret.
Yeah, shout out to Margaret. Awesome. So you're at Smashing Boxes. I feel like at this point you probably kind of feel like you got some good stuff going on. Like, yeah.
I was just happy to have a job that gave me health insurance and paid me a salary, and I could finally afford to live without thinking constantly. Yeah. And then I think at that moment of freedom from like the restrictions of life a little bit, I was able to think more about what I was really passionate about. Awesome. And I was lucky enough to be living with an artist, and just seeing how like creative people operate was really inspiring. I think, sometimes whenever you've been pushed in one direction your whole life, something else kind of gets dimmed down, which is like my creativity. And just being around people who are very creative and think very abstract and are not really confined by a lot of rules. It was really great because then for the first time I could think about my dreams, my goals, what I wanted to do in those kinds of ways. So as I was as Smashing Boxes, learning more about technology, learning more about creative people, I started tapping into the arts community here, and just really the underground arts community, people who aren't in these institutions, are not having shows every week or something. And so that allowed me to really connect. And I just started thinking, like, what do you want to do? It's like create opportunity for people like myself.
And for like Durham has an awesome subculture, or not even a culture of incredible creatives that are doing some awesome projects, from like documentaries to murals to like building small businesses, artisans, whatever. So super cool to tap into that community. And then you started getting the inspiration, right? Through this new community you had found.
Exactly. So I started doing underground art shows called Emerging Artists. It started because my roommate would just paint and keep all her paintings like in her room, like stacked up. And I just got so tired because she's so talented. So I was like, okay, you know what? We're going to do an art show. You pick 3 friends. We're going to do this thing. Let's put it on.
Awesome, yeah.
And so we did it, got sponsors for food and drinks, and it turned out really well. And so it was something that we did semi-annually. And then I started thinking, I was like, people don't always get commissioned, or work doesn't always get purchased. So why don't we do something a little bit different? I'm not an artist, and so, but I love to color. Yeah. So I just collaborate with different artists, create these life-size coloring book pages. And so created those, and people got to come in and be a part of the process. And it turned out to be this thing that we never imagined, just allowing someone to step into that artistic process. And even though maybe they never thought they could, you could see how people like brought down their boundaries of like personal space. Everyone was like on top of each other. And then we were lucky enough to end up being the person or the people that the National Museum chose to exhibit their 4 Freedoms exhibit. And that was really cool too, to see how another way that art and creativity can reflect real life. And
a kind of a confirmation of what you're doing, right? This new creative angle you found, like a great win, right? To kind of get you going along that path. You'll have to give us some of the pictures and footage from that so we can like show it. I'll show it on this while we do it. That'd be super cool. Okay, so life-size coloring, but kind of one of your first, you could call creative entrepreneurial ventures, if you will. I want to start getting into Treme. Like, when did the inspiration come? You're in this new community. You're exposed to technology. How did things start kind of converging into the inspiration for Treme?
So I made a goal for myself, because as things go on, I now had the freedom and flexibility to just be out and about and social and make friends. So I was like, let me make some friends.
It's a whole new thing.
It's a whole new thing I can have, like, I think about it. And I started making friends that were Ghanaian. And it was really cool to be able to be around people who spoke my language. And, we ate together and hung out. And so we all actually ended up going to the same gym. And so one day I'm like working out, and one of the guys comes up to me. He's like, Joan, come over. We're going to talk about something. We want you to input. Because I'm very vocal amongst my friends. I'm always trying to, just like my parents push me, I do that to my friends. So I've turned into my dad. So I came over, and they were like, we want to do something. Like, we just don't know exactly what we're thinking. We have a bunch of ideas. So we met every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for like a month straight, and just like plotted down ideas, brainstormed about things that we cared about in Ghana and for the whole continent, actually, and then trying to figure out a way to make those things happen and prioritize, like, what's simple, what's not.
I love this exercise. It's such a cool exercise.
It's like you force yourself to just, brainstorm with a group of people that we're all from totally different backgrounds. Some of them are developers, some of them work in data analytics, some of them are sales and marketing. So, and after some time, Treme came up, and we were trying to solve the problem of finding things in Ghana. And something small is like a bathroom sometimes. And so, Treme means show me in our language. And so we thought that was something that one could still, stay true to our culture and make sure we named our product after our language, but also something that was easy for other people to understand and say.
For sure.
And so we started building Treme in June of last year.
And before we go any farther, just give a quick 3-minute synopsis of what Treme is, like what it does at this point in time.
So Treme at this point in time, it is a wayfinding app. And if you don't know what wayfinding is, I'll explain. With an example, we have really huge marketplaces or bazaars, if that's what the word you're used to, in Ghana and in most of Africa. And that is where most of the entrepreneurs exist. That we are one of the top countries for women entrepreneurs in the world. And so a lot of these marketplace women and men are selling goods. And you'll spend a lot of time traveling through this marketplace,
imagine, right?
like looking for something. And so the idea first came out of the fact that we wanted to connect these people that prop up our economy to more like a diverse group of like a market. So instead of the neighbor that knows you're there and they can go to you, but also the tourist or maybe somebody who's visiting and
someone new to that market has no idea what anything is.
It's like, okay, bet. So what can we do? So we were like, we're not gonna do anything crazy and complicated. We'll just give the marketplace person the option to geolocate themselves in the market. And you, as the user, can type in what you're looking for, and they list out what they're selling, and it just connects you.
That's
it's
awesome.
really simple, and there's a map that takes you from where you are to them. And we were like, okay, that's simple enough. Let's do that. And so as it kept evolving, it was like, okay, well, what about, we started questioning ourselves, like, what about the grocery stores and all this stuff? It's like, well, our culture is built upon these women, these men. And so we're going to make sure that we empower our culture while also creating an innovative product. There's no need to forego who we are just to be something else. And so
to keep the spotlight on the local entrepreneur almost.
Exactly. So then we decided to add a couple of elements that would be necessary, like Google Map things that you can find, like hospitals, gas stations. But we really wanted to focus on things that were not easy to find. And so also directing people to like landmarks and tourist locations that most people don't think about going, like Elmina Castle or some of the nature reserves that we have in our country. And so that's what the app does. It allows you to explore Ghana and come in contact with people and marketplace people that you probably normally wouldn't find.
What a cool tool for someone to have in their pocket when they go down there. And something else that you've kind of built out with Treme is helping some of these farmers understand better what to do with their crops, right?
Yeah, so I guess we are really ambitious in how we've approached Treme. Is like, we don't want it to just be this app and then we potentially sell it or something. And we want it to be something that taps into the industries that our group is passionate about. So there is somebody in our group that's really big on the agriculture. And so we were like, how can we prop up our agriculture with our company? And so we're working with local farmers to figure out, okay, this is like your land. How can we assess your land? What types of crops do you need to plant? What is the harvest yield that you need to get? Like, how can we help you like optimize that? And how can we connect you to people who can buy this crop? And so eventually in the Treme platform, we hope to have like not a premium side, but for farmers where they can connect to buyers wholesale. But also kind of having an agricultural branch that connects like, ag tech and all these different things to help optimize these farmers' crops and help them figure out how to better use.
Because it's currently like a lot of guesswork, right? It's kind of like,
it's like a ton of guesswork. About 30% of crop is lost currently. And we want to change that because a lot of these farmers are also women. And so my co-founder Innocent, he's really big on it, and so he's kind of been leading the charge in that space. And so our hope is that we'll branch into agriculture, and then we'll also branch into like land ownership, because about 60% of the world's like usable land is in Africa, and so we need to have a hold on that before the rest of the world comes in. Sweeps that up. And so we're figuring out ways to branch out so that it's not just this wayfinding app, but it's also something that empowers our founders to move into places that they're super passionate about, and also helps the people that we are from.
A cool foundation to build so many different kind of niches off of.
Exactly.
And you've already kind of piloted the agriculture aspect of this, right?
Yeah. So we worked with a group of women already, and they've already seen like returns and everything.
How many women was it?
20.
20?
Yeah. And so it's been interesting because it's allowed us to see the unique, like, you don't always think about agriculture. I don't know, like, from my perspective, when I thought about farming, I'm like, I was farming, people farm, and that's it. And so, but whenever you start thinking about it in terms of like how it really supports a country. And, we import almost everything when we don't need to, and we have farmers who can produce these things, but they just don't know how to. And so how can we do that? And so our hope is that we'll be able to change that mindset for one, and then also help these farmers connect to like whether it's government or private businesses to do that.
And you shared a cool stat. It was like they had a 40% increase in crop yield. The first group. I mean, this is the pilot program, and you're already having an incredible impact, right?
And so then our hope is just to connect with like ag tech companies who have like sensors and stuff like that, so that we can make sure that it's data based, and so and that we're making decisions for these women from like solid information. Because I think the technology aspect of it gives us a special advantage and like a unique perspective to help them. Because right now we're telling them like this works better for you based on analysis. This works better too. But as we get more scientific and like deeper and deeper and deeper into it, I think we can really impact how things are done. Yeah.
That's awesome, and it's incredible to see how you guys have already been able to gain a little bit of a foothold here. But you're also working full time while you're doing this.
Yeah.
And, like, there's a balance there, right? And this kind of comes back to how, Mati, we feel like we at Mati we really want to shine a light on the hustle that people have. It's so unique to people.
Yeah.
And I want to get some insight into kind of how you've been able to structure your time. Coming back to maybe some hacks you have of really pushing on two exciting initiatives, like your personal career, working for a really cool company, right? Making some exciting things happen there for company growth, but also building something from scratch.
Exactly.
How are you structuring your days? How are you getting through the challenges?
I'm lucky to have really great friends who I can have these conversations with too. And I had a conversation with one of my friends a little while ago, and he mentioned how he pays himself a time first thing. And my mom used to like wake up at 5 a.m. every morning, and I was just shocked because I didn't understand why anybody would do that to themselves. But as we were talking about it, it made sense. It's like, why don't you pay yourself for time before you pay somebody else with your time? So waking up early and trying to establish like a foothold in my personal tasks and my to-do list before I step into my smashing boxes hat, because it's important to keep those two separate. Like I can't cross contaminate my work, and so trying to be up early enough to focus on the things that I need to get done, at least a few small to-dos. If let's say for instance you're a gym person and you usually go to the gym after work, but that's also the best time to do some work. You pay yourself a time by going to the gym in the morning, doing any small things you have to do, so that after your work day is over, 5, you can focus on those tasks at hand. And so that's kind of how I've tried to structure it, where I make sure I wake up early enough to set up my day for myself, go to Smashing Boxes, do my thing there, and then afterwards, I still meet with my team.
Exactly.
Every week. So
okay.
Yeah, so that's what I've tried to do. Blocking off my calendar to remind me, and then also blocking off my calendar to remind me to step back. I think that's really important in this whole space of doing these things, whether you're only doing one thing or you are doing multiple things. If you don't take care of your mental health and create some safe space for yourself to relax, you're going to burn out, even if it's something that you're super passionate about.
What are some of your ways to kind of get that space back?
So my mind races when it's supposed to be peaceful. So I can't do yoga and stuff like that because I'll just be thinking about how I'm not relaxing. But if I do really repetitive tasks, that is really helpful. So if it's even just doing something with my hands or trying to build something or going to the gym. I know that's a lot of people are oh, that sounds so stupid. No, if I'm focused on one repetitive task, I have to get these sets in. That's good. I can finally think about nothing else. And then I like to read, and so
really?
So that's really helpful too, just to take in somebody else's words. And I know whenever you're building companies and you're building yourself, you're supposed to read nonfiction and these self-help books, but I think fiction is really awesome because seeing somebody's story be built out and that imagination that has to come into that just really allows your mind to expand in a different way.
For sure.
So I really love fiction. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it gives me a chance to just escape for a while.
Yeah, for sure. I second the thing on the gym because I go to a gym in downtown Raleigh and for 1 hour I'm just completely focused. I don't even think about anything else because they're just kicking my butt.
Exactly.
I'm trying to get through it and I'm out. So I really appreciate that time too, and it's become pretty important to me.
Yeah.
Incredible to hear the Treme story, how it's growing. What's next on tap for Treme? Where are we going with it?
Okay, so we're launching we're launching a huge partnership in April, and we are partnering with one of the largest music festivals in Ghana, and so I'm really excited about that.
For sure.
So that's going to be announced in April, so follow us on all social platforms.
What's the name of the music festival so people can check it out?
Afrochella.
Afrochella. I love the name.
So I'm really excited about it. And then we have a meeting with a couple of government officials to see how we can use our app to also assist the government in some of their goals. Some of their goals for this year are human capital investment, and if anything is investing in human capital, is investing in their businesses and their entrepreneurial practices.
For sure.
Hopefully we can get some partnership there as well.
Definitely.
And we're doing like a huge like Ghana trip in December.
Yeah.
And so we're taking a bunch of people to Ghana. We're gonna allow them to use the app and everything, but we're doing like a launch party in one of the marketplaces.
Wow.
And so that's what's next right now. We're just really excited to finally see everything's come to life.
Yeah, it's awesome to get to see how people are also noticing what you're doing, and those partnerships and meetings and everything are all so
coming together.
Awesome wins to have along the way.
Great.
That's incredible. I love hearing the story. I love hearing where you come with being in this purpose-driven mission, but you're still hustling to make it happen in the Durham community here, which I think is awesome. Just to wrap things up, our big question at Mati, we're all about helping people be all who they are. And I want to know what Joan's made of.
Okay. I was telling you earlier that I sent this to one of my friends because she asked me the same thing. But it's kind of lofty. I mean, I could give you like details, but it's kind of lofty in the sense of...
Lofty's okay.
Okay, lofty's okay. So what I'm made of is I am my mother and father's prayers personified. I am the link between what was and what will be. The universe has heard my name and has been commanded by God himself to work in my favor, and I can't lose.
Wow, that's powerful, man.
That's how I operate.
Yeah.
So if I can say anything I'm made of, it's just made of absolute will.
Yeah, I love that. And you've proven that ever since you first came to, probably since you were born, you came to the United States.
There's a reason they were pressuring me from birth.
You've been riding waves, stepping up to the challenge. It's incredible to see how your story has grown and to where you are today. Where can people find you and Treme online? Okay,
so I am at Joni_XOXO on Instagram, and then you can also find me on LinkedIn, Joan Yobani. And then Treme is at Treme app, which is KyereMeApp. And that's on Instagram and Twitter and LinkedIn. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, Joan, thank you so much for joining us today. I really enjoyed the conversation. I'm super stoked to see what comes else from you because it's going to be big.
I can feel it. And we're going to just drink Mati on the way there.
Amen. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Healthy Hustle Podcast. The Healthy Hustle Podcast is created, edited, and powered by our team here at Mati Energy, and we've cooked up a special deal for you to get to try Mati for yourself. The first 10 people to go to www.drinkmati.com and use the code HUSTLE50 will get 50% off their next order. This code will work for any of our variety packs, any of our flavor packs. The only thing it will not work for is our subscribe and save products, but we hope you guys can use this deal to get your hands on Mati and to experience it for yourself. Once again, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to the podcast, and stay tuned for next week's.